as soon as it starts. There's a delay, I think. Oh, we don't have anything here yet. Do you know how long is the delay?
Maybe a minute.
Hmm. Okay, at least I can see the chats. Okay, I think we are live. Hello, everyone. I hope this time we won't have any technical difficulties. As you know, I am camera shy and I am not keen on videos. I do live podcasts via Patreon. Okay, where is my control here? Hold it. Okay. Ba-bum. Okay. All right, it should work. All right. I need to. Can you help me do the? I need to mute this so that I won't have echo. Okay, thank you. Well, welcome. And this is going to be an interesting live. And I need some time management. Where's my assistant? I need your help with the time so you can tell me when we hit the 1 hour mark, but also with the battery because I don't want to run out of the battery. My phone is charged, but it has been acting up. Welcome and good to have you here this Saturday. And how did we end up here with Jeffrey Epstein? I have to give a background on that. But before doing that, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to start this, I don't know how many of you have read my book, Classified Woman. That's on my FBI whistleblowing. And that my FBI whistleblowing took place in 2001, 2002. And I wrote the book around 2006, 2007. However, I was banned from publishing. I had to fight that battle for about 3.5, 4 years with the FBI and the Justice Department because of the state secrets privilege. So it took a long time to publish. I had to self-publish it because the publishers were so afraid of publishing it because we already had a threat in writing from the FBI saying that if I were to publish this book, and I had already submitted this book for, when they go through the pre-pub review for people with top secret clearance, et cetera, et cetera. So I had already gone through the entire process. And I had submitted my manuscript in 2007 to the FBI, and they have 6 months to go review it, redact whatever they deem to be classified, and then send it back and say, here it is, we reviewed it, and this is the segments, these are the things you can publish, and here are the redacted things you can't publish. Well, after submitting our manuscript, that 6 months that legally they have to take care of this ended up stretching to 2 years. And then they send us, finally, after 2 years, my manuscript, everything. We are talking about 500-page manuscript for a book. Everything was redacted. Everything. I mean, every single thing, including page number, including the title of the book. And under it, it says, written by Sibel Edmonds. That was redacted as well, okay? So that just tells you about classification system when it comes to our government. And so we had to fight that via court, via threats. It went back and forth. And finally, I said, you know what? I know I didn't put anything that should be justifiably should be considered classified. I'm sure of that. I did not divulge any names of any informants and those sensitive kind of things. Let's say ongoing investigations and those types of stuff. Okay? So I said, you know what? I'm going to publish it. If they want to throw me in jail and imprison me, that's fine. So I published it. Why am I bringing this up? It's an old book. It should be considered pretty much historic by this time, right? Well, it's not, because Those of you who have read the book, those of you who have it, it's also available as an ebook, Kindle, Amazon, all those stuff. It's there. I just published the audio version of the book as well. You can see the link on my sibaledmonds.com, also via my Patreon page. But what I wanted to do, okay, I know everybody is talking about what they consider the juicy stuff on Jeffrey Epstein. Here is the naked picture. Here is they are roasting babies, and all those stuff are happening right now, right? Millions of documents, millions of etc. that has been put out there. This session is not gonna be those types of sensational, a lot of it bullshit stuff that is being poured out there. So if those of you who ended up here seeking popcorn session, right? On, oh, the juicy sex scandal, I'm just giving you a warning. You may exit because this is going to give you a lot more. And it's going to start by explaining, providing you with an overview of how these things work, okay? With these types of networks, because this is about the macro picture. It's about blackmail, okay? And believe me or not, blackmail is a very lucrative also commodity in the geopolitical political sense. Okay? And those of you who follow me where I post regularly through Patreon, you know that I have talked about it's plural, it's Epsteins. There have been Epsteins, okay? And as big as Epstein, let me put it that way, okay? And at least for the last, the ones that I know, since 1996, 1997, okay? And when you're looking at the sexual blackmail and sextortion, right? Let's say here in the US politics and involving many foreign operatives, right? For the sexual blackmail and the people who are involved, pedophiles, let's talk about pedophiles. There are different categories of pedophiles, okay? What we see mostly based on the stuff out there on Epstein, this is a specific type of pedophilia, and that is post-puberty, girls ranging, age range 12, 13 to whatever, 17, 18, as far as the minors are concerned, okay? And the clients, many of the clients that he entertained, they were the people, the kinky pedophile people who enjoyed that category of sex with minors, okay? That was their taste. Post-puberty girls, 12, 13 to whatever, 17, 18, okay? Now, there are pedophiles, okay? Let's say within the US government, Congress, etc., right? I'm talking about the high-level pedophiles because this applies to pedophiles around the world, okay? Their taste in terms of what turns them on and what they like, okay, their pedophilia operations, engagements, is targeted toward pre-puberty, let's say girls, right? And they have an age range of, let's say, 8, 9, 10 to about 12, 13. And they just, they are sick people and they like that age group of girls. There are pedophiles who like actually toddlers, 3, 4, 5 years old. There are even pedophiles who like babies, okay? And if you have seen my post, I put a link there to my CV. It's a public CV, right? It's on LinkedIn as well. I have a degree also in criminal psychology, also a degree in forensic science, okay? And I worked as a COSTA, court-appointed special advocate, and a guardian ad litem, representing sexually abused children from 1993 till about 1998. In fact, that was what led me to the FBI because as I was getting ready for my master's degree, I applied with the FBI for an internship position relevant to my field, which was child sex abuse. Okay, I'm just providing you with this background pre-FBI so that you know that, okay, I also have experience working with pedophiles, pedophile cases, various age groups, girls as young as 2, 3 years old, boys as young as 2, 3 years old. So that is a global thing. But right now, our focus is within the political sphere and these cases in the United States and the related cover up. Okay. And another thing that is interesting is so much attention is placed on pedophiles who target girls, little girls. There are pedophiles who target little boys, but those cases don't garner much attention. But also, it's hard to actually compile data in many cases because male in the male gender, they have more stigma attached with being abused, and they are less likely to come forward with the reports of being abused, being raped, etc., than girls. Okay, and the same thing is true with the organizations and the government entities, etc., and even public reaction in the media. And that is an accepted fact. It's not fair. I don't agree with it, but people tend to react much stronger if the victim is a girl, is a minor girl, than it's if it's a boy. They don't, for whatever reason, not justified, they don't treat it as such. But there are as many pedophiles, right? Let's say within the U.S. government, who like and who engage with molestation and raping of boys. Some of them boys 3, 4, 5, that's their age category. Some of them pre-puberty, some of them immediate post-puberty age. Okay, all right. So I wanted to talk about how these cases work based on experience, based on my experience, okay, with the FBI, Dennis Hastert, and the entire network that I reported, okay? And as I'm doing it, I'm gonna put out some new information that I had not discussed in details in the past, okay? I didn't wanna announce it because, not because I'm paranoid, but because I just wanted to minimize the chances of my things not working today, right? Oh, lo and behold, I don't have internet, right? So I'm gonna provide you as I go through some of these facts that I want to talk about. I'm gonna expose a few things, few names that I had not really talked about in the past. I had referred to them a lot. I had described them, but I just said, okay, Dennis Hastert, and then there were other people in the State Department, all that, okay? And that case involved boys, right? And involved pedophilia, and involved exactly the same thing as Epstein's case, and same level of cover up, same level of intelligence gathering connection to foreign governments. In this particular case, and I'm going to explain it, Israel and Turkey, and this would be the cases that I got to translate, I got to work, I got to blow the whistle on the files, the recordings, the videotapes of these sexual acts, and etc., including the recording of the blackmails by foreign individuals of bunch of people, and we're going to talk about that. Those occurred between 1997 and early 2002, okay? And it involved the US House, US Senate, it involves the US State Department, it involved individuals in Pentagon, it involved some local politicians, most of them in Illinois, in Chicago, okay? And this is the boy pedophilia. Everything that you see in Epstein, right? In Epstein case, mirror it and just make the victims boys. Some of these U.S. Government people, right? They like the younger boys, the 4, 5, 6. Some of them they like the 14, 13, 15, 16, such as Dennis Hastert. And so that's why I said Epstein's as plural. This one has come out. Most of it hasn't come out, okay? And while we are at it, let me talk about what has been put out there and ask you to take it with a grain of salt for a lot of things you are seeing, okay? First of all, they have taken all this time to dump this 3 million, the latest documents, okay? How do you think they review and discuss, okay, and strategize and plan and then release? They are not going to release what we need, what the public needs, the real the real stuff. Okay, of course there are, I would say, if I were to throw numbers, about 15-20% of what has been released, the emails, like the real ones, because there are a lot of fake stuff there, you know, Gates, Lechak, all those stuff, Sultan bin Ahmed, Sulayem, etc. Like those are, you have to mix some real stuff, right? Some important stuff, semi-important stuff, with a lot of garbage in order to garner legitimacy, right? Otherwise, people are going to scream and say, this is bullshit. Now you're going to ask, and I'm going to explain that because I have first-hand experience, why would they release fake stuff, right? And they actually announced it. They said a lot of things that you're going to see, a lot of these documents are fake, right? The photos are fake. So think about it. Why would they release things that they had already deemed fake, right? What is the purpose of it? The purpose of it is distraction, right? The purpose of it is based on this strategy of damage control, and we determine what direction is going to take in terms of what public's going to talk about, what people are going to talk about, right? So that's for that. And how did they come to get these bullshit fake stuff, right? That happens with any FBI case, especially publicized FBI case. It happened with my case, right? We fought through FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and fought and fought. And after 3 years, they sent us this box, and that this box had 500,000 documents, pages, right? First of all, 30% of them were redundant, and another 40%, 30% were fake stuff, not the stuff that FBI faked, but FBI receives on any daily basis on a public case like this, Epstein, right? Tips, right? There are a lot of people who contact the FBI and say, I have information on Epstein. I live, in Palm Beach, and I have these documents on Epstein. Now, some of these people are crazy. Some of them are just ridiculous. They like to engage in these types of nefarious stuff. Some of these people are pathological. They believe what they have made up themselves. So FBI has to receive this, okay? They can't say, no, don't send it to us. They're like, any tips you have, send it to us. Those things come, and it goes through several different people and several different division and desks, right? To be deemed, some of them goes, this and this, and then the forensic department, and then that. And then they either stamp it, they put it on the side, they are saying not substantiated or fake, and then things that are substantiated, which are the stuff that FBI had gathered without the public tips, okay? So all those things that they collected on Epstein that came from the cooks, right? The fake stuff, they know it was fake. They don't destroy it. They never destroy, because there is this law, okay? They have to keep everything. They have to keep everything for 20, 30 years, including garbage that they have already established to be fake. So this is why you see a lot of fake stuff. And they want to make it so it's going to be almost impossible to discern between what is real, right? What are goodies and what are bullshit. And as far as the real explosive documentations goes, name goes, right? Pictures and videos goes, you will not see those. Same thing happened with so many different cases, including the Dennis Hastert case, and we're gonna get to that, right? So that's why I'm saying it's not like these, okay, there's a picture of someone roasting a baby and all those things. I'm like, okay. I'm not saying ritualistic stuff are not happening, because those things have been happening, and we will hopefully have time to cover that. But you are not gonna get the pictures and videos on those. Another important thing I want to clarify with the Epstein case is, and if you're following my reports, investigative reports on Patreon, I have put it out there, I have sourced it, I have documented it, and I have dozens of contacts within the FBI and people who used to be within the FBI high level. Currently they are out, but they have ins with the current people in the FBI. Does that make sense? I know that's really wordy, but so I have so many sources. I have had so many sources. I had an organization, National Security Whistleblowers Coalition. What was this organization with at least 150 former FBI, CIA, DOJ, DIA, DEA, high level individuals? You can see the list of those. And those were the whistleblowers who actually had gone public with their cases. In addition to those 154 people that is known since 2004, I set up this organization, National Security Whistleblowers Coalition, NSWBC. I have several dozens of people who blew the whistle or complained and filed complaints internally, right? But their cases never went public. They chose not to go public. And you know what? I don't blame them because all of us who went public, it didn't do any good, right? Even the ones that made some noise and got into the headlines of the papers, in the end, didn't do any good. It was Epstein, and some cases even worse, okay? So I have confirmed this nearly, okay? This is a fact. Nearly 80% of Jeffrey Epstein's underage, right, victims, kids, girls, were from the Balkans, okay? Something like 78.4%, nearly 80%. And we are talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of girls, okay? Some of them he actually had within his own network when we are talking about the Epstein Island and his house in New York and all those stuff. But then there were girls that did not fit within his operation arena, and there are other Epsteins that he would forward those boys, because there are boys as well, okay? Those boys and girls to other Epsteins, right? Same exact operation, same exact connections, with direct connections to Mossad, to Israel, direct connection with certain mafias, such as Albanian mafias, and we're going to get to the Balkans because that's how this thing started. I was not working on Epstein's case. I didn't want to work on Epstein's case. There are millions of people working on Epstein's case. I'm going to explain how I ended up with Epstein when I was not working on Epstein, okay? So, close to 80% of them being from the Balkans. Slovakia, Albania, Kosovo, Bosnia, okay, Bulgaria, Romania, and where are these names? Do you see any of these Balkan last names anywhere? What? Where are these victims? Where are the mentioning of these victims? They are not in practically any of these bullshit documents that they have released. That should tell you what this is about. This is a massive cover up, and they are giving you bullshit. They are feeding you bullshit. And why would they withhold all the stuff on the Balkans? Because that's where this can of worm will get exploded and opened up. And that would be especially Epstein's activities, operations, right, in mid to late 90s, around 96, 97 till 2001, 2002. And you won't find anything for those years, okay? You won't find anything on those, because I looked at all these documents, not millions of them, but everything that people, there is nothing, really, nothing. A little bit of financial dealings, nothing. In fact, they are not releasing, they don't want people to know about dozens of trips that Epstein and Maxwell, sometimes together, sometimes individually, took to the Balkans, within the Balkans region, right? Nothing, right? But there are records of those. The Department of Justice, the FBI has those. Now ask yourself, why don't they want that information out? Because that's where a lot of shit resides, okay? And again, I have an investigative report series on Patreon. A lot of it also directly links with the United Nations. These are all confirmed cases. So far, 4 of those, based on the recent dump release, got slightly established. It's not going into how deep it is. Also, Epstein had at least 2 trips to Afghanistan during the thick of the US occupation of Afghanistan around 2004, 2005. Nobody's talking about that. What was he doing there? Okay? He's been to Iraq via Istanbul. Nobody's talking about that. Again, around 2003, 2004. Well, think about it, okay? I mean, first of all, one of the first thing that you can easily connect would be these are the war zones, right? What do you get during the war zones? You get all the vulnerable population. You get all the refugees, right? You see a lot of kids who are separated from their parents or their parents have been killed. It provides the perfect opportunity to to kidnap, right? Traffic, not one or two or three children. I'm talking about thousands of children at a time. And that can be, these children are used for various networks. Some of them for girls pedophilia, some of them for boys pedophilia, some of them are for experimentation. Another major one is organ trafficking, okay? Americans, we in the US, not me because I am an international, I always am around the world, are so removed from a lot of global cases because number one, the media really doesn't provide any coverage. Number two, and that is very unfortunate, there is this prevalent attitude among Americans that we don't give a fuck. It's only important what's happening here, even though all things are connected. Thousands and thousands of children between Syria and Turkey borders during Syria war, refugees have been taken for organ trafficking. And this is established case. There are actually prosecuted cases in Turkey involving mafia, and the mafia being the Israeli mafia. Okay, I'm just giving you one example. It's not some sensational thing. Oh yeah, somebody roasted babies. These cases you can go and see the prosecuted cases, arrested cases. If you go to the Balkans and look at the organ trafficking and children abduction, right? Again, you see these cases and you see some prosecutions involving Israeli network, right? Israeli mafia, they refer. Well, these mafia members, operatives, they are highly connected. Who are they connected to? They are connected to NATO, the US government, and most importantly, the United Nations. Again, we're going to bring back Epstein here. Epstein was a major, major player on the ground, right? With the people on the ground. Who are these people? The United Nations people. There are some NATO people. DynCorp, right? On child trafficking, right? And organ trafficking networks there. And you can look at my reports and you can see some of the people that they actually let out. And I started covering these people before this because they are dated, my reports on Patreon. It's not because I want to gloat and say, hey, I did it first. Nobody else was covering. For example, the Lechak. I started covering Lechak and said he was one of the network people, pedophiles within United Nations. And Lechak was on the ground during those years, right? 98, 2001. And they scrubbed Lechak's background, right? His career, United Nations and everything. They actually cleaned up those years. And I found that about a month ago, all right? 5 weeks ago. I'm like, why is it missing? All we know is he was in the region, he was on the ground. This was when Epstein and Maxwell, they were going there, right? And but it's missing. What was he doing? It's just like even if you go to Wikipedia, it just says Miroslav Lechak, and then it has all this embellished biography and everything, and then it says 2002 to 2006 because he climbed the ladder in the United Nations and then became the foreign advisor in Slovakia because he was one of the chosen ones. Okay? And we're going to get to the chosen ones. So we're going to get to a lot of things, hopefully. If not, I will have a live through Patreon, especially for my Patreon community, and we will complete whatever we missed this time, right? And so at least 3, 4 of those, column is one, they have come out. It's far more than that, okay? Especially the Balkans, arms of United Nations, completely done. And I also published in my reports links, and these are the links to reports by the United Nations itself, right? Again, I don't like these people who go and make up shit, right? And then if you want to go and say, oh, I want to see the documentation on this, it's another blogger who's making up shit. And that blogger has gotten it from another blogger who has made up shit, right? Unfortunately, this is the sorry state of journalism today. We know mainstream media is bullshit, but you have a lot of bullshit operators out there, right? People who neither have background or the educations or the sources, right? And they don't even bother to really conduct research, heavy duty research to substantiate what they claim. You can look at my report, United Nations own report, right? And it says something like, in the latest one, this is 2024, 1.5% of their people on the various countries on the ground, right? Which translates to like 3, 4, 5,000 people. And these people have confessed. They said they believe it's absolutely okay for them to have sex with minors, little children. You can link and click on the link. You can see it. This is the United Nations own report. And thousands of cases that have been reported to the United Nations, okay? Especially by the Serbians, especially by the people in Kosovo. So many cases of abducting children, raping children, trafficking children. United Nations people, right? Sometimes with private mercenaries like DynCorp, right? That they actually traffic, rape, molest, traffic children as young as 3, 4 years old, multiple witnesses, right? Just like Catherine Volkovac case, the whistleblower for DynCorp, and we're gonna get to that too, hopefully. If you haven't watched it, watch the film Whistleblower. But Catherine Volkovac, she was on the ground. She actually gathered a huge, and this is in real case, they didn't make that up for the film, duffel bag of documents, pictures, videos, just like Epstein, right? Presented to the highest level of the United Nations. It was all proven to be all correct. There were other witnesses, right? What happened? The United Nations did not fire anyone. The United Nations didn't hold any trials. DynCorp, same thing. The US government that gave billions of dollars to DynCorp, right? Their cronies, they didn't do anything about it either. So, okay, especially for our American audience, people from the US, our tax dollars, right? Billions of dollars, our government, right? Gives to these private mercenaries. And these private mercenary groups, a big faction of them, they are involved in not only drug trafficking, and which they are, cocaine and Afghan heroin, DynCorp, but also they are involved in rape, molestation, pedophilia, and child trafficking, right? And they are being paid by the Americans, okay? That's a fact, okay? That is no assumption. That is not it's not alleged. It's a fact. Again, go read my reports. Bam, bam, bam. Click on the links. All of them. Because Catherine Volkovac, her case actually won in the UK, but just on the employment portion of it, everything she said was proved accurate. And just like me, you know what she did, Catherine Volkovac? She established an NGO, like I did with NSWBC, right? To fight this. It's like, okay, there was no accountability. Some of these people are high level in the United Nations. They are involved. And through a nonprofit, we're going to demand accountability, demand prevention. All the stuff I did when I was wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, naive whistleblower, right? And then she got disgusted. After campaigning for accountability and making this stuff public, she got disgusted. And I was trying to get in touch with her. I got in touch with people who worked her case. I have spoken with at least 3 people who were involved in Catherine Volkovac's case just in the past 1 month, right? She is somewhere in France and she's disgusted and she doesn't want to have anything to do with these people anymore. I did the same thing as well. There was this period when I went MIA in 2007. I basically throw the towel and said, "Fuck this, nothing is going to happen," right? Okay. So, how did I end up with this Epstein angle and ended up with all this Epstein related stuff is what started it for me was my investigative report on the side for me, which started last September, October on Jared Kushner. Okay. Jared Kushner and his new $2.5 billion project of resorts in this island called Sazan Island in off of Albania's coast. It belongs to Albania. And he is developing, he basically went through the loop of getting the permission from the narco state, the corrupt government of Albania, to develop this very high-end, very elite resort and an attached port to it, a port that would accommodate mega yachts, even big ships and submarines. And also right across from it, Vlores Airport. And his partners, Israelis and UAE people, right? Billionaires, um, big names. And so I started investigating that just on the side. I was not doing it for anyone. I was not even doing it for Patreon, my community. This was something that I was doing because it's part of my, let me put it this way, it's part of my therapy because I was away for 5 years and see if I can partially come back. Really delved into it. And as I started digging, really digging on all the Jared Kushner's deal, why Albania? Why Sazan Islands? Who are these partners? As I started doing these, right, I started collecting names, right? The people from Dubai, the people from Sharjah. Oh, by the way, also because Albania has offshore policy, it's going to work as a money laundering center, offshore banking as well, and they're going to have that and casino there, right? And it's a narco state, Albania. And by the way, I have had people from Albania sending me hate mails and saying, "Why are you insulting Albania?" I am not insulting Albanian people. I am not equating the Albanian mafia, which has become in the past 15, 20 years the world's biggest, most powerful mafia for cocaine, for child trafficking, for child sex trafficking. Again, don't take my words for it, right? I have the links to all the reports, including the UN and everything you want, Europol, Interpol, everything is out there. That there is like, you can't even compare them to the Italian mafia or the Turkish mafia or the Russian mafia. There has never been a mafia like this, right? That doesn't equate the entire population of Albania. And Albania is a poor nation, right? And there are millions of good people in Albania. But Albanian mafia also has determined the government people who are working in the government. So you have a narco state. It's worse than Colombia, okay? Everybody knows Colombia is a narco state, right? Well, Albania is a narco state, but it's more than that. For child trafficking, etc., because of this powerful group. You know, we have our deep state because the Albanian group's bosses happen to be again us, and we're going to get to that. So it's not about Albanian people. Same thing when I talk about in the past, the Turkish mafia and their role in the heroin distribution and their connection to the CIA and all that. I remember those days. I got all these attacks saying, "You're insulting Turkey and Turkish people." It's like saying, "Oh, okay, if you people talk about Epstein and the network, right, the pedophiles, you are saying the entire people, Americans, are pedophiles, right?" That's not the case. It's the same thing. And in fact, I have been working hard trying to open the eyes on what Jared Kushner's project is all about and get this project to stop. And you're going to say, "Who the fuck are you to do that?" I mean, you're like a little petite woman. And I'm going to tell you, it's not a far-fetched idea because Jared Kushner and his affinity group, his Israeli, UAE, Saudi partners, right? They also wanted to have the same type of a resort project, smaller scale, in Serbia, right? In Serbia. And those of you who follow me and you're members of my community, right? And even on YouTube, I posted it. I posted it at the end of December 31st. I said, "I, Sibel Edmonds, I'm going to give the People Power Award for 2025 to Serbia. You know why? Because Serbian government has its own share of corruption, big time. Same thing with the Serbian parliament. So Jared Kushner and his criminal mafia, okay, I'm going to get to the names and all that, from UAE and Israel, they did the same thing they did with Albania. They gave bribe to parliament members in Serbia, to the executive branch, the prime minister. The parliament approved it, said, okay, you can do your despicable project here in Serbia. The executive branch said, oh, parliament approved it. The PM put the stamp of approval on this project. But you know what? There is this thing called the people power. And this was the most beautiful example of people power in the world that I have seen in the past, I don't know, maybe a decade, because I was so proud of the Serbians. Serbian people, not for one day, not for 5 days, not for 15 days, for almost the years they protested, they didn't give up. They formed like this body shield around the blocks that they were going to build corrupt Jared Kushner's project, and they screamed and they didn't give up every single day. Not like our protests here for 2 days. Don't stop the war in Iraq, and then you go back. Serbian peoples didn't do that. They kept screaming and they kept protesting, tens of thousands of them. It got to a point that the government in Serbia had to give up, right? They won. People in Serbia won. And I have been so hungry. I have been so thirsty to see an example of people power in any country in the world. Because everywhere I'm a geopolitical analyst, right? Turkey, whatever, Iraq, Syria, you just name it. Everything that I look at, I see that government being subservient to the US empire, right? Engaging in whatever, with Israel relations, in the despicable genocidal wars of the United States, their participation as NATO nations, like it's all nauseating. It makes me all disgusted because there are tens of millions of people, and then there are hundreds of whatever, the government people, officials, most of them pedophile and corrupt, right? To see people really rising, saying, no, enough is enough. So, to make the long story short, seeing Serbians doing this, I got my share. And it restored my hope in humanity. And it's so important to not lose all hope. If Serbian people can do it, right? Any nations, people can do it, but they are not. So therefore, they are the only ones, the Serbs, who get this awards. Again, I'm not talking about Serbian government. Now, there are going to be some people who hate Serbs, right? From the Balkan War era. You love these despicable genocide. I'm not talking about the government in Serbia. I'm talking about the people power, right? They kicked out Jared Kushner, and I tell you what, it's a very brave act, not only with their government, it's because Trump is part of this deal with Jared Kushner and these mafia Israelis and the mafia UAE. And you know how they hold grudge. And the other thing is, they don't want an example like this to be set. Oh my God, that's unacceptable. People have to roll over, bend over, and say, just basically screw us. And Serbia can't be an example. So probably the war is not over. They're going to make up some shit. They're going to go after Serbia. And it's not the Serbian government, the Serbian people. They're going to try to make Serbian people suffer. Thank God Serbia is not part of NATO and EU. Thank God. Look, they haven't become effed up like the rest of Europe, right? So desensitized to their government's complicity in the US empire's criminal operations and deeds around the world. So, let's get back to our story. I'm doing all this digging, and I found, and I have documented, this can go on in terms of a series for at least 10, 12 episodes, not here. This is the stuff I'm doing at Patreon. But I started getting the connections with his UAE partners, the same UAE partners. Right now, over 84% of cocaine from Colombia, from South America, is distributed by the Albanians. Albanian mafia, not Albanian people, right? All the transport, the shipping cargoes. The latest bust was off of the Canary Islands in Spain. They busted this ship, and this particular ship also had a Turkish owner. But the amount of cocaine in this ship was the largest ever in the history of busting drugs. It was more than 20 tons. 20 tons of cocaine, right? And these cocaines are all hidden under these crates with bananas that come from Ecuador, right? So anyhow, I have become an expert on anything effing cocaine that comes sourced from Colombia. Then it goes through Ecuador. Ecuador is a major transit hub. Then the Brazil and Brazil ports, and there's an Ecuadorian ports, right? Then into Albania, and then distribution to Belgium, Netherlands, and all that, all through the Albanian mafias. Now, then I started looking at the ports. Oh, let me see. So as I'm looking at these ports, right? Many of these ports are owned and operated by UAE mother effers, billionaires, princes, right? And those people happen to be the top partners of the Trump's cronies and Trump's despicable son and son-in-law, right? It's like a, crisscrossing the names. So after the ports, right, I started researching the banking. Well, the banking let me, majority of the money laundering cleaning happens in Dubai. Oh, who are the ones who own these banking institutions and all that? Oh, Jared Kushner's partner. The same coalition is the business, this corporation that is called the Affinity Partners, the Affinity Group, and it's very important. Go actually research affinities and its relation to some satanic practices. The affinity groups, they are the Israeli, okay, and the UAE partners especially. Every one of those, including the Israeli partners, are also involved with the ports that are involved in the mass amount of cocaine being shipped, including the ones in Albania. Okay, and that led to me to, oh, Albanians are the number one players in the global child sex trafficking, okay? Then again, the hub becomes Dubai, right? And then that led me to, lo and behold, Epstein, because you come across people like Alamadar and you're coming across someone like Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem. And I was like, oh, and then those, and then affinity partners. That's how I ended up with the Epstein's case, okay? And the people who were involved, right, on the ground, high level United Nations, it's tip of the iceberg. People, why don't they want a lot of this to come out? Because it's not only about the US and the officials. It's not only about that despicable prince, whatever, Andrews in the UK. When the world, right? The world, forget about the Americans right now. The world is getting to see the United Nations is ran by pedophiles. And I'm not talking about one or two pedophiles. No. Epstein girls, that's one thing. Then there are the other Epsteins with the little girls, that's another network. Then there are boys. There are little boys, and then there are the post-puberty boys, right? All over the same people, right? How they are all hooked. It is called the hooking process. That's what we worked at in the FBI. Meaning, this is a major deal, right? Sexual perversion, illicit drug use. You compile data and you befriend those people and supply them what their perversion is. You document that, right? I'm not talking about just John Doe. I'm talking about people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and the top officials within the United Nations, right? Top generals within NATO, right? The World Human Rights Courts. I mean, you get all the arteries, right? You identify the people with perversion, you corrupt them. That's not only, that's only one operation. The other one is putting those people, your pervert, right, clients, in positions, whether it's the United Nations, whether it's the World Bank, whether it's a certain embassy in Turkey, okay? The US ambassador in Turkey, people. That's the tip of the iceberg. Barack, right? So what happens is, who has all that information and the material so that they can get done what they want to get done? Let's think about that. Because that's the commodity. You can get these people do anything when they know you have what you have on them. And it's not only that, it is like an established, some sort of a satanic brotherhood, okay? I'm just putting a phrase. It's my phrase I'm using, meaning one for all for one. One falls, we all fall, right? And it's the notion of being chosen, the chosen. Why this person can become a trillionaire, why this person gets to be the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee in the US House, right? Or in the Senate. Why this person gets to be the ambassador. So actually, it's like a badge of honor for these perverts. It kind of makes them want to be pervert or practice it, even if though it's not coming from the inside. Because if you're not part of the chosen, the club, your chances of getting those positions is slim to none. So that's what I mean by being chosen. And this was supposed to happen, but I'm going to tell you right now, I was going to start with it, and now it's coming towards the end. So I was going to read this from page 115 of my book with Dennis Sasher, the agent, veteran agent, amazing guy that I worked with and I work for. And it's a scene, and it's like a 7-8 page. And he came and he asked me to, at that point, to give up and say, it's not going to go anywhere. They're going to make your life miserable. And this was before they came and confiscated my computer and all those stuff, before the gag orders. I'm still in the FBI. And he's like, give it up. And because it's not going to get anywhere, going to the director, Mueller, and then going to the IG. And I said, well, I was so green. I had a master's degree in public policy with another certificate master's from Oxford. I thought I knew how things worked. Right. So I said, well, if they don't do it, okay, I know. It's going to sound so dumb and naive. I'm so sorry, but that's how I was. I said, well, then I'm going to go to Congress and I'm going to take it to the Congress. And Sasher looked at me and he said, just from our case, how many people do you know that they are in the network, pedophiles, that bunch of foreign organization and U.S. government has all the videos raping babies and children and everything. Let's count those, right? Just from our division. And our counterintelligence mostly was involved with Middle East, specifically mostly with Turkey, right? And Azerbaijan. Let's see, Dennis Hastert, Speaker of the House. Since 1997, FBI had pretty much as you have, or they are saying they have on Epstein's case, right? Because that led to other people and all the related peoples and all the things that we had collected. They had collected. Some of them had to be translated. Some of them had to be analyzed, right? It's Dennis Hastert, pedophile. And then there is this person in the State Department. There is this, for whatever reason, every single U.S. ambassador to Turkey, right? Every single fucking U.S. ambassador to Turkey since 1988 is a pedophile. And they had the whole records of it. Mark Grossman, Edelman, they were all Israeli. They were all part of Epstein's group and the other network. Every single, now I'm like, can you think of, since 1988, based on FBI's files, can you think of, since 1988, I don't know, before 1988, a single ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Turkey that was not pedophile with a lot of shit on them. And also working for Israel. And also engaging in espionage against the U.S. for Israel. I can't give you one ambassador's name. That should tell you what we are talking about. And this in not only Epstein, it involved the ones with Dennis Hastert, the little boys, and all that. That's how things work. So anyhow, my agent, my guy, Dennis Sasher said, so we know of 14, 15 individuals, and in Congress we know of 7, right? Compromised, severely compromised. Let's put it that way, severely compromised. Then he stood, and you can read it. And this book was written in 2005, okay? So it's not after Epstein. I'm going to go and put shit like a bunch of bullshitters out there. Yeah, Epstein this, Epstein that. Okay. So he's in this room, and there are these cubicles. There is a section for Hebrew and Israel, and everything has 15, 20 analysts, translators. There's a Russian section in a huge L-shaped room. And this is around 6:30 p.m. Most people have gone home, and he's sitting with me in this division, and he pointed at the room, and he did this with his finger, right? And he said, from our division, we know of these. Now think about all these other divisions. How many other congressional people are severely compromised? Are you looking at perversion, pedophilia, bondage? You're looking at the stuff that has been even said on Epstein, because most of it they haven't been said. It's nothing. So probably that division over there has 6, 7 compromised ones in the Senate and the House, and that one has 3, 4. So he said, Sibel, who the fuck are you gonna go to in Congress? How are you gonna determine who's clean if there are any? How are you gonna determine who is clean? I was adamant. I didn't give up. And I went to Congress and I got effed up there, right? They're all compromised. Well, I'm not saying, like, if there are 400, 380 people, representatives. Okay, here's one of the litmus tests. One agent that is also a member of my organization, veteran FBI, 27 years with the FBI. He no longer is with FBI. Let me explain to you what he told me, okay? And then, he and I met with other reporters. He told several reporters. They didn't publish it, 2003. And his credentials were like billion times above mine in terms of his level at the FBI. I was a contract FBI. I was nothing compared to this guy, right? Gilbert Graham. So he said, okay, when I was a rookie FBI agent, my first few years, my task, the division I worked for was, you know how you have a new president, right? And the new president gives a list of people he wants to make federal judges, appoint federal judges, right? Trump has, Bush. They come, they're like, here are the list of people I want in the federal courts, these judge candidates, right? So there's a list of, let's say, 25 judges. So this list has to go to the FBI, right? So FBI has to do intensive, right? Intensive background check on these candidates that whoever is the effing president wants to be a judge, federal judge, right? Including FISA court judge. Some of those are really important federal courts. And so he said, that's how I learned how the system is so effed up, you can't get anywhere with it. He said, and then you do intensive, deep background check. Then you bring your findings to the presidents and his advisors. And let's say out of 25, it says this particular one is absolutely too dirty. He is, even though he's married, he is into bondage sex, and he has that for gambling, right? I'm just giving you an example. This particular one has had indecent blah blah with minors. So they kind of make a horrible, absolutely no list for the presidents. Borderline candidates, here are the issues on them, right? And then here are the list of clean people. They are like monks. They are really clean. They are good. We couldn't find shit on them. He said, immediately, first thing they do, and it doesn't matter which president's office it is, whether it was Republican, whether it was Clinton, they get rid of all the clean ones, the monks, right? The ones who are pure, good, there is no shit in their background. And they right away go for the ones with the highest number of skeletons in their closets. Every single one of the federal court judges, in at least DC and the important courts, this guy he's not a blogger to put this stuff saying, oh yeah, you know what, this guy, he doesn't like to be photographed, right? He already was, decorated in military and he had 27 years with the FBI. None of that. He has no reason to give any embellishment. So this was when he was trying to open my eyes saying, your case, you want to go to court against this stuff? Let me sit down, little girl. I want to tell you a few things about how the federal court judges are selected and how the cases don't randomly get assigned to judges. So he opened my eyes. This was 2004, 2005, on how it works. So people, we are talking about the courts. People, we are talking about the Congress. We are talking about ambassadors. We're talking about the United Nations. We are talking about the State Department. We are talking about the Pentagon, right? So it's the infestation is 100% complete. And this web would not allow anybody who is clean and good enter it. Some of them have their drug connections. Okay? So for Albania, this is not just a resort project. Do what Serbia did. Kick them out. I know your government is corrupt. Look, our government is uber corrupt too. Look at that. Our government is the godfather of all corrupts. But look what Serbia did. And that's not because their government is not corrupt. So instead of sending hate emails and threats saying you are insulting Albania, I'm not insulting Albania. I'm trying to empower Albanians and say, kick these people out. Protect your children. I know what they are offering, okay? And this is Jared Kushner and his pedophile network. Pedophile UAE Israel network. Underlined, emphasized pedophile network, okay? Also involved in cocaine trafficking with the Albanian mafia. What I'm telling you is, protect your children. I know what they are telling you. Because economy is so bad there, unemployment is so high there, and it sounds so enticing because they are saying, look how many jobs going to create. Look how much money you're going to make. Look all the advantages economically you're going to get from our practices, operations, our nefarious operations there through this luxury resort and airports and the ports and the tunnels. So as I was researching how the idea of all the places, because the water is cold to swim, so it's not like some tropical place where you have really nice warm water in Crete, Greece or anything, right? It's in Adriatic Sea, right? And it's cold. So the tourism season there is going to be maximum 2.5, 3 months. It's not like Marbella where you have 9 months of tourism season and this resorts and all the ports. So I'm like, okay. How did they pick Albania? Well, of course, the cocaine and the child trafficking and all the stuff with the mafia, that was one there. But as it came to Epstein's and Jared Kushner's, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, right? The first time to turn Sazan Island, I refer to it as Satan Island, okay? Because they want to make it a Satan Island. The idea came from Epstein and Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem between 2014 and 2016. They said, why don't we franchise Epstein Island, right? It's like McEpstein Island, so that it would also serve other, because Epstein's, the girls, 13, 12, 14 minimum, like the minimum 12, 13. He didn't go for his stuff there for the 9, 10 years old ones, right? And so Epstein and Sulayem, Sultan Sulayem, they there has been, and there are documentations of this. They're not going to release it, right? But they bought an island together, right across from his island, to be Epstein Island 2, and that was going to be for boys. So we're going to get to that in my later investigative series. Who bought it? The second island, besides the one in St. James, it's Epstein and Sultan bin Sulayem. So they narrowed it to 2 islands. One small island in Philippines. Again, Dubai and the same guys owned the ports and the real estate there. Then they came up with Sazan Island in Albania, 2014, 2016. And they're like, we can have our own airstrip. And what got Epstein's attention, because that's when they said it's going to be Sazan Island, are all these bunkers. It's like hundreds of tunnels, right? Built right around World War II in 1950s. And sound won't transmit there. People can't spy, right? They are these underground bunkers, cremation facilities, cremation facilities, right? And all these tunnels that haven't been really shut down because the Albanian mafia, they have been using it as a transit points for trafficking, etc. I don't want to get to that right now. But it's like, okay, it has that, and that carried a lot of interest to Epstein. And guess what? Epstein started building these tunnels under his house at this island. He had this obsession of having bunkers and tunnels where they can do a lot of things and not have any fear of any scrutiny by any government, by any entity, because you can't with these bunkers. And so all the discussions happen. So Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem goes to Albania and starts proposing. I have the pictures, Rami, all the articles written, all that. They're all documented, right? Another Dubai guy, forgot his name, Al-Madar, Prince, another Epstein, Jared Kushner. They all are the same people. Kushner's team and Epstein's network team, they are the same people. So they are proposing, they want to develop, and all this stuff happens, and then he goes to jail. This is Epstein. Then it was revived by the same people, Israeli, United Arab Emirates, with their leader to be proposed, Jared Kushner. They're like, here is what we should do, Mac Epstein, and the tunnels and the bunkers, and with all the other things. I mean, you're talking about trillions of dollars when you add all the sex trafficking and the cocaine, the globes, the world's #1, the monopoly of dealing and transiting and supplying and distributing cocaine, and money laundering. Name your billions that are associated with money laundering. In fact, Epstein and Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, they call their project, the Sazan Island project, the Little Dubai, the mini Dubai island in Europe, okay? And you go find it, Little Dubai, mini Dubai, Albania, Sazan Island, 2014, 2016. As part of Little Dubai is the banking, which is the offshore banking for laundering. I mean, you have a hub for everything. The port, right, coming from Ecuador and Brazil, owned and operated by the same team members. The child sex trafficking, because they're bringing from the neighboring countries, you know, Romania, Bosnia, Kosovo, right? All those are all done by Albanian mafia, right? If you have money laundering, banks for it, money laundering, Jared Kushner's project has a major casino, right? Airfield, port, and bunkers and tunnels. I mean, it's like everything in one. Everything in one. Okay, so Albania, protect your children. I know the reputation is already really bad. Not your reputation. It's the mafia and it's the government. The mafia is the government there. It's not you I'm talking about. But at least for your own children. Albania is a Muslim country on top of it. I mean, it's this needs to be stopped. This satanic island project of Jared Kushner has to be stopped. So when I said I haven't given up, I I'm gonna do my part. I have done already my part. I'm gonna be on several interviews, media in that part of the world next week, but I am not giving up. And yeah, we have Albania Mafia here. They are all over Florida. They are in Miami, big time. Palm Beach is their playground as well. Um, Dennis Hastert, I we supplied all the stuff. It didn't go anywhere. The media helped cover it up. And lo and behold, in 2013, he had hundreds of victims during his tenure as a middle school slash high school wrestling coach. He had raped and abused so many boys, 13, 14, 13, 14, right? And then what happens? You get elected, you come to Congress, nothing, you just repent and you don't engage in any of your pedophilic activities because there's no rehab. There is no such thing as cure for these people. So these victims, they come forward, he gets arrested, and the United States media, including some of the so-called alternatives, they knew I had already testified to it in deposition under oath. The Vanity Fair article, right? Democracy Now, all that, and they would not mention the fact that Dennis Hastert continued his pedophilic operations and activities throughout his years in Congress. And yes, he was blackmailed. And yes, he supplied a lot of shit to people, endangering the United States, the people's interest, right? No, it's there. It's on Wikipedia, it's everywhere. It's like, oh yeah, when he was a coach in high school, he was raping boys, like on weekly basis. It's not like a one or two incidents. Okay, why do you think that is, people? Why do you think that is? You don't think that Epstein's, because that's plural, they have their people in the media as well? You don't think they do? You really don't think they do? I have another side project that I've been working on, and that involves Brazil. That is. But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is, just ask yourself: our government is not going to release anything, and what we have seen, it's the tip of the iceberg. Globally, is the tip of the iceberg as well, as far as the United Nations is concerned, as far as our ambassadors, as far as our wars, our military, and our mercenaries, okay? DynCorp. Look how much Trump and Kushner, they are in love with DynCorp. Just go and look at the connection. It was DynCorp that was engaged in child raping little children and kidnapping and trafficking in Kosovo, in Bosnia, in Sarajevo. What happened? They got fatter and bigger, and Trump loves them. And Jared Kushner is in love with the guy. Look at the position Trump gave to their CEO. Of course, they changed the name. You know what happens when the brand kind of starts collecting reputation? Because after Bosnia, after the Balkans, you know what DynCorp did? Look at their second scandal. Again, you can see it linked in my report. The dancing boys in Afghanistan. Who did that, people? DynCorp. In Afghanistan, little boys. And that scandal blew up too. Nothing happened to DynCorp. They got bigger and fatter. They got richer and fatter and bigger. And then they're like, oh my goodness, you know what? It's time to change brand, because that's one of the things they do. We call it something else. Like Prince, Eric Prince, right? It was, what was it? Blackwater, and then it became X, and then it became something else. As the scandals break of these people being satanic, pedophiles, drug dealers, the lords of the drugs, like the godfather above godfather of cocaine and heroin, they change brand. So when you go and you're like, oh, no, okay, even try to do search. Not only that, people, I was told by my sources that they actually, Google is in bed with them and they scrub people's background. Like they permanently take it away, okay, as a search engine, like what they did with Lechak. And another one, I'm going to put some floating some names here. Those of you who are watching and some of you who are interested, start doing digging because they're part of my investigations. One name is going to be Joel Perlman. Check out Joel Perlman. So Jared Kushner, for his project, he didn't use some ordinary banks. He picked this newbie, nobody had ever heard of it, bank in the UK, private bank that didn't even have a few $100 million, right? And said, you're going to be our bank. Now, the guy who owns this bank, the 50-50 partner, one of them, is a guy from Colombia. His name is Joel Perlman, right? He came to US for the university and da-da-da-da-da. You can find all that. They scrubbed his background, his father, his family, what they did in Bogota, Colombia. It's all gone. That's another Colombia, Albania, Jared Kushner. And not only Jared Kushner is using them for banks. Less than a year ago, Jared Kushner said, I want to buy 10% of you. Now that bank is doing tens and billions of dollars, or maybe hundreds of billions of dollars in business. And it's like less than 8 years old. In the UK, they are opening offices here in the US. But check out, this is one of the people that my FBI source said that, are you kidding me? He said 2-3 years ago, you could actually find things on Joel Perlman, Joel Perlman. This is Jared Kushner's special personal banker for his, and the name of the bank is Oak North, not Oak North. Check, because they had thousands of information, documents, pieces of information. Now you can find anything on the web. Since he bought it, Kushner, 10% of it, Joel Perlman, Colombia, cocaine, Albanian mafia, Staten Islands, okay? Now, I said I was going to talk about a few other names because these names keep coming up because Trump loves pedophiles. And it is more than love for pedophiles, okay? I stopped my relationship with Epstein. Let me tell you, one of the people that Trump has been sucking his boss's dick, okay, is, look up, you some of you who are into politics, you may already know, George Nader. He's a Lebanese American businessman. His last name is also pronounced as Nader in Middle East. Is George Nader, Nader. Some of you already know who he is. He was dragged into Russiagate. He is Trump's, like they are like this, okay? On the side, when you start researching this guy, he's a known pedophile with a very thick record, right? He has been arrested several times by the United States government. He has been arrested in all over the world too, but just in the US government, right? Since Dennis Hastert's day, when I said I'm going to drop some names, he's been arrested a lot. He's a notorious pedophile who not only molests and rapes boys, little boys, he also physically abused them. And when he travels around the world, he actually, in some cases, some of his victims have died. Boy victims, little boys, like 10, 11 years old. Look it up, people. George Nader. George Nader, all the Russiagate stuff, because he's a buddy of Trump, right? I'm talking about these two. It's much more than friendship. I'm not saying they're having sex. I'm saying Trump is a despicable human. I don't want to call him human being. He's Satan. George Nader was arrested, right, in 2016, 2017, because he kidnapped a little boy in Slovakia, Donald Trump's wives, I'm not going to even get into what Melanie Trump, how she ended up here. But okay, George Nader, right? Nader, he kidnaps a boy, 11, 12-year-old boy from Slovakia, brings him to the United States. Okay, he and the boy, and keeps him as his bondage sex slaves for a while. And he does some horrible stuff to this boy, physically injured, ruined. He got arrested for this. But Trump made sure his dossier, George Nader dossier of not only this boy, all the other boys, and Trump knows about them, would not see the light of the day. I want you to go and read the interview with this boy. He's a man now. He's a father. He went back to Czech Republic, to Slovakia. And read the interview of what kind of bondage, what things he did to this boy when this boy was 10, 11 years old. All the way for years. George Nader, look it up. It's easy. It's not, before they scrub it, look it up. Now, who protected George Nader from hundreds of other crimes, including other Balkan boys? Some of them dead, already dead. And FBI has these documents. There are countries, governments that have documents. Who has made sure that these documents did not surface and George Nader was not held accountable? Who do you think did that personally? Personally, not through some appointee, personally. Donald Trump. Why? So in Alexandria, Virginia, George Nader gets to be sentenced to 10 years in jail, and he is put in the prison, federal prison, in 2000, I don't know, 19 or 20, and he was released. He didn't serve 10 years. He served less than 5 years. Guess who requested and ordered his release? Donald Trump and Jared Kushner. Why? Why would you want to release a pedophile, notorious pedophile who has had hundreds of victims around the world, and some of these victims are dead? Why would you do that? Ask yourself. I'm not saying through their appointees. They personally had him released from jail. Do you know where George Nader is today, right now, people? He's in Dubai. He's in UAE. I also want you to ask these questions, because try to dig. I tried to find, you can't find it. I travel around the world, okay? I travel a lot. How do you get on the plane with an 11-year-old boy and get him to the US without his parents, bring him to the US, kidnap him and bring him to the United States with a regular airline? How did he obtain visa? Because the boy had a visa stamped from the embassy in Slovakia in his passport, okay? In his passport. How do you get that? You go to an embassy to get a visa for a boy, they're going to say, where's his mom and dad? He had a mom and dad. Who's the ambassador who stamped the visa for an 11-year-old boy that was brought by George Nader into the United States with a commercial airline from Slovakia? Who was the ambassador? Just look at it. Just look at it. All ties to Dennis Hastert as well. Look at it. Look it up. How did he get the visa? How did he enter the US? How did he pass through the custom? Because you've traveled without your parents. You know all the laws. Can be someone kidnapping. Sometimes they're afraid that maybe one of the parents, if they're divorced or whatever is kidnapped, you're going around you go all the way from Slovakia, you get on the plane, you get a visa for the spy, and for this boy, and you bring him, you imprison him in your townhouse's basement, and you torture him, and you rape him, and you sell him, and you film him. You film him. You film what you do to him. You know, the stuff that he did, George Nader, to this boy, read an interview, the physical stuff that is permanent for life. 11-year-old boy. Are you going to look it up, people? I want you to check another name because he is Jared Kushner's affinity partner. Check out, I'm going to say, who is Richard Grenell? You know, the Satan Island Project, cocaine, pedophilia, Albanian Satan Island. They're turning it into Satan Island. Do you know who Jared Kushner's partner is? Look up Richard Grenell. Okay? Look up Richard Grenell. And why was he given UN positions? From what I have gathered so far, it is alleged, and I want to make sure I say it's alleged because there's so many documents, people. But I don't have some people's deep pockets up. It is alleged that it's Jared Kushner, who works for Israel. It's Israel via Jared Kushner that is continuing and will be continuing Epstein's and Epstein's plurals, but with trillions of dollars. Jared Kushner's net worth went from $800 million, which is all like through nepotism and cronyism, to now several billion dollars in less than 1 year since his dad was elected, his father-in-law, his daddy-in-law. Jared Kushner, it won't even take 5-10 years. He's going to be a trillionaire. Mark my word. There's a lot of money involved in cocaine, child pedophilia, child trafficking, money laundering, because the partners, these are the businesses they're involved in. Ports, airports, strategic airports for cocaine routes, money laundering, shady banks, Colombia. It's very interesting because you know why they went after Maduro? Because Maduro had declared war against Albanian mafia. Albanian mafia runs Ecuador big time, and Brazil, and less than 5% of world's traffic, cocaine was trafficked through Venezuela as a, with its ports and as a transit route. Less than 5%. The rest goes through Brazil and Ecuador. So he declared war. Go look at it. Look at his videos. I watched his speeches. And the speeches was, the speech, one of them was like 9 months, 10 months before the invasion and before he was kidnapped. And he was saying, we're declaring war against Albanian mafia. And the Albanian mafia tried to assassinate him because he wouldn't go along with their scheme and transit because Albanian mafia had dominated everything in South America, right? All the strategic ports except for Venezuela. And Ecuador is like their country now. Like Ecuador is Albania 2.0 as far as how it's owned, how it's governed. Oh, guess who owns and operates Ecuador's ports? UAE. Oh, look, Jared Kushner's partners. He declared war, Maduro, against Albanian mafia. Go look it up. Don't take my word. Go look it up. Just look it up. All these things are connected, and I've already spent so much time here. Are you exhausted? There's so much more to cover. There's so much more to cover. But not in one session here. And this is not my preferred method. It's difficult for me to do this. I'm still not there as far as being public. But Patreon, all these reports published there, been made possible by my supporters through their monthly subscriptions. By the way, everything I post on Patreon, all these material, all these reports, all these links, everything, podcast, lives, they're open and free to all members. There's no membership required. So all the monthly subscription is voluntary. And And I want to continue this for as long as I can, meaning people, those people who can, voluntarily saying, I pay you $2 a month, I pay you $10, I pay you $5 because I can, so that we can keep it open and accessible to all. So that it's not these tier and oh, it's not going to be available to this members who are not paying for two. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I'm asking you, those of you who can and who enjoy and who like these reports, to um, join our Patreon. I mean, look at the thumbnail I put in there. It's like, I don't want to play in the devil's playground. And YouTube is a fucking playground. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's why I don't show up here. But I'm showing up almost on daily basis on Patreon. Patreon, the owner is an amazing guy. He's not one of these bastards, pedophiles like Musk and these people and Google. He's not. And he has refused to go IPO. Jack Contes, he's a musician, he's an artist, zero censorship. And I'm so hopeful that he will never go IPO. And the crowd that comes there is different than this BS stuff. And as I'm ending, I'm giving you invitation. Please come join Patreon. It's open and free. Those of you who can, please do what you can to support, because I'm hoping to be able to set up in a studio and have a more over there like video production and be able to interview. I have a lot of sources to interview. I have some really interesting people for you. And before I leave, another thing I want to mention is be careful. There are so many awful information sources out there. I'm not talking about mainstream media. We all know how awful they are. I mean, that's a given. We already know. But I'm talking about people, and then you get thousands or whatever people going and listening on Epstein to this person. So it's like, do you know so and so? So I go and sometimes when I have time and I check it out, I'm like, whoa, misinformation. Sometimes not intentional. It's like these people don't have. Okay, there are things that you look to say. Let's say someone is covering, who is it? Peter Thiel, right? Peter Thiel's financial stuff and making this whole rabbit hole and smoke and screens and everything. It's mind-boggling bad. I wouldn't want to do the financial stuff because I don't have a background. These bankers, these trillionaires, billionaires, they are experts. They have with their billions of dollars, world's greatest accountants have financial experts to cover their tracks. So are you telling me this blogger who's a high school graduate, right, doesn't have any expertise in forensic accounting? That's what it. When you are going to go after billionaires and their money track, you better have those skill sets. I don't have it. I will be the first person to say. So, well, or you have money to hire a forensic accountant, right? And they put all sorts of bullshit. So, and then they link it, and the link goes to another blogger who sells bullshit, and their link goes to another. And then you end up saying, this was made up by some bullshit maker, wherever, and then it became a source. Like that's not how it works. Investigative journalism, it shouldn't be. And it's really unfortunate how banal it has become, how misleading it has become. Or, and the deduction is like, oh, so there is a Starbucks by this Bill Gates Microsoft headquarters, blah, blah. And then Bill Gates had coffee there. And then 2 days later, Epstein's blah, blah had coffee there. So they're connected. It's like, this is what they're counting on, right? The people who are engaged in cover up, the ones who are not going to let this stuff out, and the ones who know that thanks to these assholes, all sorts of misinformation is going to spread and it's not going to get anywhere. I know because it happened with Dennis Hastert. I know because it happened with 9/11. This is how they destroyed 9/11. All these, like, all of a sudden, expert popped from the wherever ground and it started putting hypothesis, but then they declared a theory, and then they just effed it our 9/11 movements and real investigation and real report on 9/11. And the same thing with Dennis Hastert. The same thing with Franklin scandal. I mean, at least internet was not big. Now with the internet, instead of getting better, in some ways it's getting worse. So all I'm telling you is watch out, be careful, okay? There is so much real information and they're not releasing it. It's not going to be in this, right? The names, some of the names, because I tell you what, I started talking about Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaim. I'm like, who the F is this guy 2 months ago, right? And I was glad actually that a few crumbs came with all these pictures between bin Sulaim and Epstein and how much deeper it went. But I already had this fact that together they bought the second islands and they were going to franchise it. Those stuff haven't been made public. All I'm telling you is it's alleged that by more than one person, by more than two people, substantial people, that Jared Kushner is the heir to mega Epstein operation network. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm still working on Sazan Island to be turned to Satan Islands if Albanian people won't kick him out, just like Serbians did. And I'm going to keep at it. And you know what? One of the things I learned, whatever I gather, I make, even before it comes public, I make sure they are in safe places with safe people, at least 3, 4. So, so it's not like, so watch out, they're going to kill you and you're going to be in danger. First of all, I'm a nobody. Nobody's going to really bother try to come and kill me. Second of all the stuff are like in drips and drabs coming out. And I bet so many of you, if you really put your time and effort in it, and develop, like, one of the things that is hardest is developing sources. A lot of people are afraid to talk. And I understand why. I understand why. I'm not talking about people are in the government and they're afraid to be fired. No. I mean, I know, do you know how many journalists in the Balkans have been killed, have been made to disappear, have been made to disappear, who delved into Albanian mafia government connection and what we are talking about just in the past 20 years? I mean, we had Webb here, but we are looking at least 19, 20 major cases. Some of them kidnapped, made disappeared, so that's it. They're gone. Nobody knows, where their body is. And some of them are actually, there are bodies there. They have been killed. And I really salute and honor these journalists. And so what I'm trying to say, it's not like, oh yeah, some government person afraid of blowing the whistle because they're going to be fired. No, even ordinary researcher, journalists, people in the academia, when it comes to, and people with sources, people with information, because let's say they have left Albania, now they're here, or they are in Netherlands, or they have left Kosovo. It's like, I have family. And there are so many businesses here in the US. Palm Beach, Donald Trump, Miami, Detroit. I mean, they are everywhere here. Even the mail bride, they have the monopoly on it, like the operation itself. And then there are connections that I told my people with charity, NGOs, unfortunately, with certain synagogues, with certain churches in the US, in the UK. I'm talking about Epstein's network. With some of the cases already public, I'm going to be publishing some of those. There's one particular church case from UK in the Balkans engaged in child raping and orphanages. We are talking about illegal adoptions and this NGO 501c3 funds that are actually, they're child trafficking. They are not engaged in adoptions. It's been going on for a long time. It's not just Albania, it's Romania, it's Slovakia. Again, who put the visa? Who gave the visa? Who's that ambassador? How did he bring this boy into this country, kidnapped and brought this 11-year-old, this guy alone by himself? And he was very high level. He's Trump's buddy. It seems to be nothing but pedophiles with Trump and the cabal. It's a cabal, it's a satanic cabal. And those people are like, oh, no, he's just surrounded himself by. Come on, people. How many times are you going to play that card? I mean, let's start with his heritage. Trump's grandfather was a brothel operator. He had whorehouses, okay? His father was selling women. He had a whorehouse. I mean, this is his grandfather. His father was a crooked mob gangster. And another thing I don't understand is, you know, it's like I was watching this thing on his latest speech trying to appeal to his Christian followers. How could they even consider this guy? I'm talking about his Christian followers, people who go to church and they're Christian. I mean, what do they see in a guy? What is Christian about this guy, As I said, his grandfather was a whorehouse owner. He's been married. I mean, these people, church-going Christians, they promote family values, right? And they want to reduce, like, the divorce and all this stuff. Well, Trump been married 3 times. And, I mean, look at his wives, right? I mean, look at the 3 women he's married, right? What is so Christian about it? Or is it the new standards in Christianity? His family values? Do you see any family values there? Or is that the new Christian family value definition? I don't understand it. Do you? I mean, casinos, the nightlife, of course, the sexual escapades, divorces, coming from their generation of selling women and buying women, because I don't know what they did with brothels there. I mean, some woman out of desperation came and worked there, but I mean, isn't it like we are full of contradiction as a country, at least in our country? Because when other countries, people I talk with, they're like, it's like churches have gone corporate. Like, it's a business, it's a capitalism, it's about profit making, and then they get corrupt, and then they get involved, some of them, with these illegal child trafficking via adoption, and then they say Trump represents their moral value. It's really, I don't understand it. So like I said, I have a degree in psychology, this contradictions, or is there a positive correlation? Because if they keep the people who have, they say they have high moral value and churchgoers, if they keep supporting this guy and they don't rebel and they don't impeach him or demand to have him impeached, that automatically, with any like logic 101, would say the Christian churchgoers support pedophiles, because that's what it would be. There is no ifs or buts about it. It's one thing to say, oh, we didn't know. Now you know, okay? And I'm not saying the other side is better. That this shit touches both sides equally. Democrats, Republican. Biden's people, Trump's people, Obama's people, Obama's ambassador to Turkey, George Bush's ambassador, they all sent pedophile ambassadors to Turkey, right? How many administrations since 1988? I mean, it starts with Bush Sr., then goes to Clinton, and then it goes to Bush, and then Obama, and then Trump. And then Trump's ambassador to Turkey is already all over Epstein files, Barrack. So what I'm saying is this country, these issues, this satanic web that governs this country, deep state, satanic, deep state, whatever you want to call it, any kind of voting every 4 years is not going to have anything to do with changing it or ending it or even reducing it. Okay? So it takes much more than that. It needs to be wiped out. It needs to be nuked and wiped out and have to start from scratch. The whole thing has to be thrown out. It's a gangrene, right? It's this tumor, and the web is everywhere. Okay, that's it. Okay, actually, you know what? I don't know how much battery I have left. Assistant, Ella. Okay, I need to check on my phone battery. And hey, shoot me questions. Do the messages. Can you check the battery and tell me the percentage? What is DJT's money? I don't know. I don't like people using abbreviation, because I can go ahead and give you 100. Like, I don't know. I don't know. What is DJT? Only we could get, okay. Any questions? How many percent? Okay, so we have time for questions because I don't want to ignore people who have been here for spend the time. Boop, boop, boop. Thank you. Good to see you, Debbie. Good to see you, Robert. Oh my God, good to see all of you here. But basically, I love seeing familiar names. Hey, Roger Morris is here. I love having you. That gives me confidence because look, this is my second recess with magnesium drink. It takes a lot to get me. Um, I know basically it's me and my daughter, but to interact, as you know, I've been suffering from PTSD and everything. Those of you who know. And this is so difficult for me. But what makes it easier is because I so know all the avatars and the names of my community members because we communicate with each other. Because of them, I have been able to do what so far I have done. But it gives me confidence boost that makes me feel so much better. Oh, I know it's late. Okay, I know this is going to be watched, and I'm going to apologize. You're going to be watching the recorded version. We have gotten um, in the past 2 weeks or so at least 250 people from the Balkans at Patreon. People who are there, Serbia, Slovakia, even Czech Republics, etc., Albania, and I want to welcome you. And because of the time difference, I know you were not able to join because right now over there it's like I don't know 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30. But the recorded one, when you see it, I'm saying it for that time, saying welcome to Patreon, and I really appreciate your support. And for our podcast and live sessions for through Patreon, I usually do around 3 p.m., 2 p.m. our time, which makes it about 8 p.m., 9 p.m. your time. So I promise we're gonna have sessions that you can shoot questions through Patreon. And this was not the right time slot for you, but we're gonna get together. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna make that happen because we have hundreds of you. Okay, Lucas. Are we talking about classified woman? Because people, classified woman is a nonfiction. That's the one I had to battle to get it published, etc. And as soon as I finished that, you know what I did? I told my late husband, my soulmate, I said, I'm going to write a fiction and I'm going to put everything on how this network, this web operates. Because if you write a fiction, you don't have to submit it for pre-pub review to the FBI, etc. Because hey, you have to say it's fiction. You may put fictionalized name, etc. That's why I wrote my second book, and I started writing it immediately as soon as I was done publishing Classified Woman. So if you haven't read it, okay, uh, read The Lone Gladio because Dennis Hastert is there, okay, and some of the way the web operates is there. There were a lot of things I couldn't say in real life that I could say through fiction. Okay. Love Catspiracy. Love Catspiracy. I like that screen name, Love Catspiracy. Okay, from Arizona. Welcome. Good to have you here. Okay. I love it. Robert is active as always. He keeps the conversation going. Sometimes I get so much cricket, like silence. Like, you know, and that kind of makes me stall. And I'm like, where are you people? Why is it so quiet here? So Robert, knowing that, is like, we're here. Okay. we have your back, and you're not alone, and that's it's so good to have. Oh, just like Grinnell was sent to Germany ambassador during. Oh yeah, there's so much shit on Grinnell. There is so much. You know, Grinnell is married or partnered with a man, and I'm not saying like I'm not attacking him for that reason, but there are a lot of things alleged by multiple people and multiple high level people, and some of you who are better with technology than I am, probably you will quickly get this stuff on Grinnell. Yeah. By the way, the company that Kushner has for Satan Island is called Affinity, the Affinity Group. And I was told that affinity has a special meaning in some satanic practices, right? And this is not some kind of a, like, some groups, they like everything, this. I'm not saying these are not satanic, they are. But there is a link between the word affinity and there is some symbol for it and something to that effect. I didn't really, I didn't delve into it, but those of you who may be interested, there it goes. That is Jared Kushner's Satan Islands company to buy Satan, to develop the Satan Islands. Oh, Donald J. Trump. Okay. I have the grandchildren here. I need to go. Okay. Well, it is almost 10 o'clock. Thank you again. It's going to take a long time to get this process because YouTube takes, I don't know, 8, 9 hours when it's this long. Thank you again for joining. And those of you who are not with us at Patreon, I invite you to come, become a member. Becoming a member and having access to everything is free and open to all. But I greatly appreciate those of you who are able to support with monthly subscription. That way I can continue doing this work. Love you all, and there will be more coming. Stay tuned. Bye bye.